Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. We're going to be taking a look at Paralyze going up against TY, and this is going to be on Litmus, one of our new ASL maps. This is a two-player map that is basically a mix of Butter and Neo-Dark Origin, two maps that were pretty popular a year or two ago, but haven't been used in a little bit. So first off, you have two gases, each at 3k, as kind of a balancing factor against both Zerg having too much gas and Protoss getting offensive gases out. So you have that, then you have this little back pathway. Actually, let me show it on the top, always a little bit easier at the top. The back pathway, just like Neo-Dark Origin, where you can kill this off, you can mine out these minerals, and maybe do some sort of cheese strategy back there. And then if we zoom out a little bit, you can see where you have this little tight choke in front of your natural, and then it's a really far away to potential third bases. Look at how far that is. That is the furthest modern map to a third base. So that is making this map like very, very different. If you look at it, the right side is super, super tight. So it seems like in this matchup, probably we'll have Terran focus more on the right side. And then, you know, for Protoss, it's like, okay, well, this is kind of tight in here. Do you really want to attack through there? This is a tight choke. This is a tight choke. This is more wide open. This is hard for Terran to get to. So maybe Protoss focusing, as Profane likes to say, on the leftern lanes. I'm not sure 100% that is how that's going to end up going. But yeah, that's something that we are going to be watching for. Now, this is an interesting take from TY because he is being harassed by a probe. Now, normally, if this is occurring when you're trying to do gasless expansion on a normal map, you insta-take a gas because you're like, oh, I can't let him steal my gas because then I'll be at a deficit. But because they can't really steal both gases, it would be so much money for them to steal both gases. TY is just saying, screw it, I'm still going to do gasless expand. I don't care that you're in here. So that's I hadn't even thought of that, but TY is a brilliant, brilliant player. You know, I'm always talking about how he was basically just the smartest guy in StarCraft 2. You know, I've casted StarCraft 2 since its beginning, just endless casts and watching the games and everything. I really do believe TY has been overall the smartest player that we've had in that game. So I love seeing what he's thinking up in StarCraft 1, which of course he was a pro gamer before StarCraft 2 in StarCraft 1, and now he's back to full-time StarCraft 1. Just to be clear, I know he played GSL. I think he was in the first GSL last year or something. He was in it semi-recently, but he's been in ASL at basically the same time, and he did not try out, I think, for this last GSL season, if I'm remembering correctly, yet he's in ASL. So I think he's pretty much just back to StarCraft 1. Of course, sad to see him go from StarCraft 2, but, you know, I love seeing the takes of these StarCraft 2 players as they come back and what they want to do. And, you know, kind of bring in their style as well. So we have a Proxy pylon, and TY is going to find this. He's going to see the robo. So generally, the correct decision here is to try to rush this with a bunker, but it's pretty far back, and the Marine count is not that high. So he has 2 Marines right now, and look at how far this is. That is really hard to rush. Now, if it was here, I think it's totally rushable, but generally you want to build a bunker next to it. So maybe, I don't know the exact buildable tiles. I believe that you have... I think you can put a gateway here. So if they place everything correctly, if a robo and pylon fit here, then you probably can't fit a bunker there. So just something to think of. We haven't run into all this yet. You know, Litmus is brand new. It is on the ladder now, which is cool. So definitely, well, I mean, that's why you're seeing it. But yeah. So with the Proxy robo, you know it's going to be a crawling Reaver coming at you, maybe a shuttle as well. Oh, he goes shuttle first. Okay. People used to start out with a crawling Reaver, but he's going to go ahead with a shuttle. I guess he's going to get, for the most part, the same reaction out of TY if he makes a Nexus or not. He's going to have TY spending every mineral he has trying to defend against this. So the fact that TY is defending heavily and he's saying, you know what, no, we'll just play this as a regular fast Reaver build with a Nexus behind, that actually sounds very smart from Paralyze. I like this line of thinking very, very much. Like, you gain a guaranteed advantage by doing this, As opposed to, like, let's say that instead he proxied a gateway or two and went all in with this. Maybe you get a win, maybe you don't. Whereas this is guaranteed advantage, and I don't think you can look down at that. Like, maybe if TY is a lot better than Paralyze, but I don't think that's the case. In fact, I think or rather, Paralyze might be favored against TY. I think they're a really similar level. TY has way more notoriety and probably more likely for opponents to panic against him because he's like a very seasoned pro gamer. But if you look at the actual base skill, I should probably remove this vision. If you look at the actual base skill, I think that Paralyze, I would say if we're just like watching a bunch of their ladder games, I'd be like, yeah, he might be a little bit better than TY, in my opinion. So siege mode on the way. Notice how he has a second bunker back here so that the Reavers aren't going to bust in very easily. 4 Marines in that bunker. Gonna pull up SCVs to repair. Splits the SCVs as the Reaver's trying to shoot. Not great execution right there from Paralyze. Gonna try to run in a little bit more. I think it's just time to pull back. You've lost a Dragoon. Another Dragoon at about half health there. No good. It wasn't a very successful push thus far, but that's okay. Like, TY doesn't have a whole lot of stuff going on. Gets a couple SCVs there. Yeah, any sort of harass like this, nice, but I think the frontal pushes are not going to end up working out. Now, TY starting to push out a little bit with, like, Marine Siege Tank. Very, very heavy Marine play here. Not a common thing to see, but this actually looks extremely like a StarCraft 2 push. This is a very common thing to see in StarCraft 2. If you're going to do an early siege tank push, you make a lot of Marines to go with it. Now, the StarCraft 2 Marines are much stronger than StarCraft 1 Marines. It's not even close. They got a huge buff in StarCraft 2. It might be independent of that. The fact that this is a common thing in StarCraft 2, it might not be. Hard to say without asking TY. And even if you ask him, he might be like, I don't know, I just thought of it. It's like, well, I mean, did you think of it because you did this in StarCraft 2 all the time? No? Well, is that true? Do we know if that's true? I don't know. So the Reaver micro looking pretty good from Paralyze overall. He sets up his third Nexus off of just one gateway. So that's super, super greedy. He should make sure he doesn't lose this. It's not worth trying to get more damage, I think. Well, if you can land it right there between the 2 tanks, that is like free kills. Don't turbo this, though. Well, he's getting enough damage here that I can't complain too much, but the theory behind taking the third this quickly off of 1 gate Reaver, I would say, is you need to make sure you're not losing your Reavers because, like, you have so little production. Let's say that he lost that shuttle with the 2 Reavers and all those tanks lived. There might be a counterattack potential from TY that opens up immediately. Whereas if you have the 2 Reavers out here, there's no counterattack potential. You get your full 3 base economy rolling and you can decide where to go from there. Guaranteed advantage, like we were talking about before. Here he took a little bit more of a risk, but not that much. Still has 1 of the Reavers. Still has the shuttle. Very important. Secondary Reaver going to be popping out here shortly. Observers coming out as well for that scouting intel. A couple more factories coming up. You can tell how far pushed back TY's build is by the timing of these. They're not as quickly as they would be, without having to make all of this defense and having all those scuffles that we've already had. They're not super slow either, though. So I think totally fine still getting these at this time. Now, I really don't know what his plan is going to be for continuing to develop his position. This map, it's very hard to push out of here. Very hard. As you see. It's such a thin line that you're coming out of that Protoss just kind of stands in an arc up here and does exactly what you just saw every time you try to push out. All my games have looked like that so far. I actually think that this map will develop, and I was talking to TT1 about this. He posited this idea, and I didn't think it was correct at first, but after playing the map some more, I think it probably is. He was saying that we might see like 7 fact 2-1 openers into a third base. And I actually think that that might be correct. That actually sounds about right based on the games I've played and the games I've seen here. So I think like doing something like trying to push out with 4 fact, unless it's a very sharp timing, your opponent lost some units, I can't really see that working super well. Another Reaver coming out. Those Vultures trying to mix it up with these Dragoons, but good micro from Paralyze gets them back and out of there. Tries to go in for a little harassment, but the pylon wall will stop him from doing so. More gateways coming up. Wait, do we have Citadel? Where's the Citadel? Probably about to make it right there. It's a little bit late for the Citadel. I think he should have already had that. He's mixing it up too much in here. He's already eliminated a lot of siege tanks. Make the Arc, slow the game down, get a Citadel, get 8 gates, get a 4th base, and you are going to be completely golden. There's the Forge. There's the Citadel. The Citadel is a bit late. It is a bit late. That's giving TY more of an opportunity to get another push out more easily than he would if some Zealots were very fast running in there. Additional shuttle on the way. This Robo's still up and producing full time. Love the pylons on the side. The probe watching for an expansion. TY has some of his own Vultures over here watching for a 4th base. You know, you're never that worried if you know your opponent doesn't have a 4th base yet. If it's 3 base Protoss, it's like, yeah, 2 base Terran can play against 3 base Protoss for a while. It's a little bit surprising he hasn't started that 4th yet, but I think it's, again, because of how aggressive he's been. This army's still pretty small. Not that much anti-air in here. Might be worthwhile to dive double shuttle in. He is getting a 2nd shuttle now. This is another thing that's like a little bit of a difficulty of this map is if you look at, so you have your factories here, right? And you're going to have to rally out here because you have to push really strongly into this very open area where they have tons of surface area to flank. But the diving in with shuttles could be hard. But, well, that's not what's happening now, so we'll just take a look as the Reavers pop out and pick up a siege tank kill. Notice that legs aren't done. They should be done. This would go way better for Paralyze if they were done. He is getting some good scarabs off in there. He kills a lot of the siege tanks, only 3 siege tanks left. TY, I think, can push up into his 3rd base from here. But yeah, if you look at the distance, this spot from in here, diving over turrets is going to be very strong. Paralyze hasn't thought of that yet because there's only a single missile turret, no mines, nothing. So a double shuttle dive would 100% do damage here. So building up some turrets, sending a lot of SCVs over here to the 3rd base. Zealots still without that leg upgrade. Okay, just now finishes. Maybe just in time for Paralyze to crush this game. Brings a Reaver up into this 3rd base. Oh, no. Oh, no. That's going to deal a lot of damage. And a lot of these siege tanks probably going to be taken out. Wow, really good mines from TY. But I don't think that that's going to matter. The amount of damage dealt here, look at this, 120 to 72. 4th Nexus just finished, so not a lot of options left here for TY. I think this game is just about over. He's up on the 7 factories finally, but that's it. Nothing else much happening right now. He doesn't have really a big enough standing army to go up here and retake this, it seems. And with the 5th base going up, you know, when your 5th base is going up, oh, at least he has a little bit of harass, but with the 5th base going up, you should be making the decisions, Terran. Do I take a 4th or do I attack? He's having a hard time taking his 3rd. So I would imagine that this game is going to end with the next attack that comes in from Paralyze. Hard to imagine TY fighting back in this position. This spread is brutal. He has very little anti-air. And again, look at the amount of surface area. How do you deal with this much surface area? Well, the answer is you get enough units that you can have this area choked, and maybe like this is the only front where Protoss can realistically attack you. That's more reasonable. If you can do that, then you secure this whole area, and this base will not be taken by Protoss. This base will not be taken. This base will not be taken. This base will not be taken. So you kind of are holding Protoss to 5 bases just by holding here. For the most part. You know, obviously a lot of different things can happen in a StarCraft game, but that's kind of the theory I'm working on this map right now. I think that it's pretty accurate. You get a huge mass, take this area, and dictate the flow of the game from here. This is a very, very powerful area. There are decent counterattack routes for Protoss, but they're not terrible. They're not like that Challenger remake. I forget the name of that map. But that one had like the most insane counterattack routes where it's like, yeah, you can't block all these. But this one, it really does feel like you can block enough of them to make it difficult for Protoss to just A-move you when you move out. So Paralyze right now just macroing up very quickly. Some scans going down from TY. He's trying to assess the situation. Scanning absolutely all over the place. He sees a 5th base is up. The army is gigantic. A ton of gateways in the main. It is double robo. I'm not sure if he's seen that yet, but I'm sure he can kind of feel that out. Okay, this is starting to get a pretty good setup, and TY he's macroed up well. There are things missing, like his science facility he's making right now. So we're at like 16 minutes 30 seconds, and he's sitting on 1-1. So you know clearly that's not where you want to be upgrade wise. But if you look at the supply with a setup like this, 150 supply is reasonable. You're going to be able to hold on against a lot of attacks like that. Even a maxed army, you might just barely not die to. And as his supply goes up, those trading odds get better and better. So he's done a good job of kind of securing this area. Now, triple shuttle running in. This should do a lot to this base. This should really make it very difficult for TY to continue to mine. He's going to lose some more economy. Some storms going down. The storm's not really the best there. Mine gets dragged into some of those High Templars, and yeah, it looks like he won't get that much done. He does kill a few SCVs in there, but not nearly as much as I think he was expecting. That's okay. He can remake those tech units and shuttles relatively quickly with the production he has going on right now. Meanwhile, the 6th Nexus going down. Reinforcing this base. You have to... Okay, I was going to say, you have to think of where to take a 4th as TY. And we see he's doing that right now. He's making this command center. This is signaling that he'll probably take it here. Doesn't have to, but floating that up to here is going to take a really long time. So I think his idea might be to take it to here. You know, this is choked off well. This is choked off well. So if he can just kind of somehow control this area, that's the thing. That's the really tough thing. Do you go onto the high ground? You're really stretching yourself thin at that point. We'll see where he lifts this off to. Ooh, some very good side storms going down. Really reduces that SCV count quite a bit. Gonna leave these unmorphed because he does almost have another size storm. Yeah, there it is. Uses it just about the second he gets it. Definitely waiting on that. TY losing that many SCVs. He's about 20 down from where he should be right now. Starts to push out to the left. I don't believe that there is an attack available. You know, maybe if he held here and put some tanks on high ground, that could change. Sets up reasonably well here, but does need some more mines. His Vulture's getting a little bit out of position. With the amount of Zealots coming down, you really need a ton of mines laid out, and I don't think he has enough right now. The other Vultures running back as quickly as they can, but Size Storms are going to start falling onto some of these Siege Tanks. The Zealots spreading out a little bit, getting on top of the tanks in the back here, and Paralyze reducing the Siege Tank count really, really significantly at the moment. TY might just barely live, technically. But at this point, at 73 supply with 39 SCVs, your mains might out. Yeah, he knows there's 0% chance. Not a bad attempted comeback there from TY. But well played by Paralyze. I think he might have gotten a little bit too aggressive for a little bit. But overall did a good job at crushing the little push-outs that TY was trying. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Litmus down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.